Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And I've got to say, tonight's Raw was interesting. I feel like we got some pretty entertaining matches. The show definitely had a sense of purpose, with Money in the Bank being the next big pay-per-view. Coming, I believe it is June 19th is Money in the Bank. So we waste no time in establishing a main event and starting Money in the Bank qualifying matches, which I wholeheartedly approve of, because it seems like some years they'll do qualifying matches, other years they'll just assign participants, so I'm glad they went with the former format, tonight. And so, yeah, we definitely had a sense of purpose, some interesting matches. Some segments were cringeworthy, some character developments were kind of mind-boggling. So I'd call this a mixed bag of a show, but overall, I'd still give it a thumbs up, though, Ash. I liked most of what it did. How did you feel about Raw tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there were two segments in particular on this show that made me want to, punch my screen, pay attention to Reddit, change the channel, just do anything to avoid having to watch them or acknowledge that they even exist. However, that being said, if we can sort of compartmentalize those two segments away from the rest of this show would have been like a solid 8 out of 10.
I completely agree. I felt like, again, the wrestling on this show was solid.
Yeah.
I appreciated the sense of purpose, again, with a pay-per-view right around the corner. Money in the Bank, again, June 19th, so they waste no time. But there were some questionable decisions, and maybe we can start looking into those questionable decisions with our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. I have 2 Heats of the Night tonight.
Well, I also have 2, and I'm betting that we might share at least one.
Yeah. So, my first Heat of the Night, straight away, I don't like that WWE has decided to keep Seth Rollins heel.
Yep, that's one of them. So, we're 1 for 1. Let's see, let's talk about this, and then we'll see if we go 2 for 2.
Before I unpack what I have to say, how do you feel about this decision by WWE?
If there was a simple phrase that I could use to describe this move on WWE's part, it's bullheadedness.
Yeah.
This is Vince McMahon plugging his ears up and going, la, 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 can't hear you, don't care what you're saying, can't hear you. And it shows.
Yeah, big time. Big time. What's the one thing I kept saying to you is, like, my personal reaction when Seth came out was 2 words over and over again: big mistake. I kept saying big mistake, big mistake, big mistake, because how are you going to have a man whose story, for all intents and purposes, is inspiring? It's pretty much the same story they always tell with John Cena. Guy gets serious injury, guy beats timetable of injury, guy reasserts himself in the position that, either he never lost, or in John Cena's case, it's, well, I'm the man around here, and all that stuff. Same story. And you expect
And they're going to tell the same story next week with John Cena.
Exactly.
And they're going to expect us to cheer him for it.
Now, here's the thing. I can appreciate the logic that Rollins, the character, tried to use, and with anybody else, I honestly believe that there would have been a chance for victory, however slim. But you're talking about a guy in Roman Reigns who, while personally I enjoy his body of work, his booking is horrendous. And the crowd reaction he gets is not of the guy, unless we're accepting nowadays just this really split crowd like we did for the past, over a decade with John Cena. Maybe that's the standard now. I don't know. Because the idea that they're going to try and make Seth the heel in this thing just boggles my mind. Now, somebody did bring up, I saw on my timeline, how when Triple H came back in 2002, he was only a face for a brief time. The face run flopped, and then he went back to being heel. But I think there are significant differences between Seth Rollins and Triple H. I mean, that's just
but
me.
I'm going to stop you there, John, because I do agree with you 100%, but I think that Vince and Triple H see this as a exact copy of Triple H. I think that they see Seth as Triple H 2.0, and I think that they want to try and handle him the way that they wish they would have handled Triple H in this exact scenario.
Right.
And I think it's a mistake because they're two completely different people. And it's not only that, but even if they were the same person, you can't do the same storyline 13 years ago and hope it's going to work in the same way.
Exactly. I completely agree with you.
That's the thing. And I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were getting ready to start talking again. But I think that the funny thing there is they could have tried to do the exact same storyline and it might not have flopped this time because, again, it's 13 years later, things have changed. But it's also Vince McMahon, and he doesn't seem to realize that.
Well, those two words you said, I mean, things change. That's everything.
Yeah.
If we lived in a static environment.
Yeah, I mean, things change in the world, but not in the wrestling bubble.
Well, and that's a damn shame.
Well, and specifically in the WWE bubble. Obviously, the wrestling bubble changes quite a bit. It's just that when you're inside that WWE bubble, you don't realize it.
And see, that's a shame, though, because to me, clearly with the way, even the little ways that Roman's booked, which maybe we'll get into that a little later, you could pull off him at least being more heelish, if not full-blown heel, and you could just enjoy this ride of people embracing Seth Rollins. If you'd want to turn him heel again down the road, I personally don't see why, but I mean, that's your prerogative. But to not even let this moment breathe, and I think that's my problem, Ashton. They don't even let this moment and just everything happening to Rollins right now breathe and kind of happen organically. They immediately try and shut it down. All for the benefit of Roman Reigns.
Tell me why, John.
All for the benefit of Roman Reigns.
Everything is done for the benefit of Roman Reigns. AJ Styles was brought in to be fed to Roman Reigns. It would not surprise me, and this kills me to say, but it would not surprise me if down the line Nakamura got called up to be fed to Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins is back. Why? Because we got to make Roman look strong.
Exactly. I mean, you're not wrong, and I think you said it best. It just breaks my heart that we could have done something so interesting. And look, it's like I tweeted out, right? I will always love Seth Rollins, heel or face. It has nothing to do with the man. But I think you just let out a hell of a lot of steam with this creative decision.
But John, you don't understand. It was meant to take the steam out of it because they don't want Rollins to have steam. Because if Rollins has steam and he's facing Roman, Roman is going to get booed even more. I mean, granted, Roman's going to get booed regardless. But the way that they did it tonight, he may be getting booed a little bit less than he would have if they would have kept Rollins as a hot baby face.
Let me just ask you personally, because I've seen a mixed bag on Twitter and everywhere else. Where is your interest in this feud now with the creative decisions they've made? Do you just have no interest? Do you still have intrigue? Like, where are you with this feud after this decision to keep Rollins heel?
My interest in this feud hinges exclusively on the idea that things could change in it.
Right.
If this feud stays as it is for the entirety of the feud, zero interest.
Right.
If we get a double turn, my interest goes up infinitely.
Interesting. And I would like that. I'd love that kind of booking because I already have some idea of how this match is going to end, but I'm going to stay mum about that because we always save stuff like that for our preview and predictions, the night before. But it really is a shame because you know what? If there's one thing that they weren't lying about, at least in my mind, it's that this is, I don't know if I'd call it a WrestleMania-worthy main event. I think you'd have to throw Dean Ambrose in there personally for that Shield triple threat. But this is like, a marquee-worthy kind of match. I think it could main event virtually any pay-per-view. And yet, I think you already hit the ground limping with decisions like this. But I've already kind of said enough. Is there anything else you want to say for the time being about the creative decision to keep Seth Rollins heel?
Just that it was entirely done for the sake of Vince getting his way. That's all I have to say. It's an ignorant, ridiculous decision that Vince forced to happen. I mean, obviously he forced it to happen. He's in control of the show. And whether it works or not, it was a horrible decision that would have been far better if it wouldn't have happened.
I completely agree. So with that, my friend, I concede the floor to you. What are one of your heats of the night? Because I know you had two. Well, actually, we did share the one, so what is the one heat of the night that you have left?
The entire State of the Women's Championship address.
Yes.
Was this your other one too?
Yes. Yep, we're 2 for 2.
Dude, can I just say, after this segment ended, I went on Twitter, and this might be the single most divisive segment I've ever seen in WWE.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Because you don't not feel anything about this segment. You don't just, yeah, it was all right about this segment. You either thought this segment was brilliant and that Charlotte is the best female heel in WWE history and that Ric Flair's performance deserves a freaking Oscar, or you're like me and you think that Charlotte is the worst talker since Mike Adamle and this is the biggest piece of trash that the WWE has produced since those Today Show women were spanking each other.
Yeah, oh my god, I had actually forgotten about that, so thank you for reminding me of that. I'll say this, and I was even saying this to you in conversation. I couldn't get into this. I'm sorry. Like, what I've been saying for so long, I think we all knew, right? The severance was coming between Ric Flair and Charlotte. I think everybody.
I mean, let's be real. I mean, there are probably a lot of people that knew, but between the two of us, you were the one that really knew.
Yeah.
I was just kind of along for the ride, like, oh, you think that's going to happen? Yeah, I guess I could see that happening, but I didn't really initiate it at all.
And, well, I thank you for conceding that ground to me, which I guess, allows me to really continue the point.
Yeah.
You know what I wanted from this. I wanted, at Extreme Rules, Charlotte to have that kind of moment where she wins on her own merits, and then that's the epiphany going into Raw tonight. But you didn't win on your own merits. Dana Brooke helped you. And see, this is where I feel a disconnect. Is Charlotte horrible on the mic? Absolutely. I can't get into her promos at all. That notwithstanding, I personally believe this segment would have had a more emotional resonance with me, because I will add, at the same time, whether it was X-Pac heat or what, I mean, the crowd was booing Charlotte when she was chewing out her father.
Dude, it's the same kind of heat that I feel like Stephanie used to get when she was, she would show up and get that nuclear, like Vicky Guerrero heat. It's that kind of heat. I don't know how you want to classify that, whether it's good heat or bad heat, but that's the kind of heat she gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And her,
it's that shut the hell up and leave the building. I don't ever want to see your face again heat.
Exactly.
In this case, I think it's more specifically, I don't ever want to hear your voice again kind of heat.
And to me, there were two main follies with this segment, and then I'm going to volley it over to you, because I'm sure you have potentially either a lot more than two, or you can articulate it from a different vantage point than what I am. The first one, and I know you and I agree on this, Charlotte did not have a seamless delivery of her promo. She got interrupted at least 3 times, allowed herself to be interrupted 3 times by the crowd heckling her. And the thing is, Ashton, again, you may agree or disagree with me on this, I feel like a great heel works the crowd heat seamlessly into their promo. There's no disjointedness. Like, if somebody were to...
Stephanie McMahon is a perfect example of that.
Right.
CM Punk! Oh, listen to these people. They want you to quit like CM Punk did. See, that is brilliant.
Exactly. That is a brilliant use of crowd heat. Charlotte, in my mind, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of people angry at me for my review of this.
Breaks character.
It breaks character, stops the promo full halt, and says, I'm trying to tell my father something, or hey, I'm talking. No ingenuity, no creativity. That's problem one. The other problem, and I'll admit to a bit of bias of this because it's what I personally wanted, and I'm probably projecting my feelings, and I'm big enough to admit that. This promo carried no emotional resonance with me because she's talking about how more or less she was on her own and her dad was never there, but you still had somebody there with you last night to help you retain your title.
Yep.
Now, I get
And if I had to guess, I would say that her dad was probably the reason that Dana came out there, because he probably told her to or hired her or something.
Exactly. Exactly. This is not, and I remember I even said, I believe, in the Natalia versus Charlotte matchup for live reactions, this was not a Randy Orton versus Cactus Jack situation
No.
where Orton dug deep inside himself and he found the will to win. This was, oh, well, my father can't help me, so let me just find some other Weasley way to win. Why can't heels be credible? For everything we have against Charlotte, and it's certainly legitimate, you couldn't even afford us the decency of having her be legitimate one night out of the year. And it just had no impact to me when she's talking about, oh, now you're in my spotlight. What spotlight did you earn last night? You did the same thing you've always done. There was no growth there to me. So yeah, for me, and then I'm going to volley it to you this way I don't drone on and on. Lack of emotional resonance, and then not even able to follow through with your promo, causing all the disjointedness. So, what were your biggest problems with this promo?
I had a lot, John. First of all, I just want to address that the people that say that Charlotte is really cutting really good promos, I know that it's all subjective, and I feel really ignorant for not being able to wrap my head around that. But Charlotte's promos are written incredibly well. Her character is written incredibly well. I will go as far as to say is the Charlotte character is probably the best written female heel of all time, if not at least in the top 5 somewhere. That
Right.
said, Ashley Flair, the performer, who is portraying Charlotte on WWE television, is awful.
Yeah. No qualms here, man. No contentions here.
She broke character multiple times because the crowd really rustled her jimmies. The crowd being loud and giving her what she's supposed to be getting, and that being heat, made her flustered. And she couldn't handle that, and she broke character. From what I understand, the reason they put Rick with her was to help her get better on the mic. The reason they put her against Natalia was to help get her better in the ring. None of it is working. The Charlotte experiment is a colossal failure.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to put it succinctly before you continue. I just don't think Charlotte's ready for prime time. I think this has really proven it because she hasn't improved on the mic. Her matches aren't horrible, but she's not the best in ring.
Of course her matches aren't horrible. She's wrestling the best female wrestlers on the planet, or at least some of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, her good matches are against Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Natalia. What more do you expect? Do you expect anything less from someone going against those women?
I would certainly hope not.
Exactly. I understand that Charlotte is not awful and that you can put her against competent women and they can have a good match, but let's not put her on that same level. She's not on their level. Don't put her on that pedestal. She is not as good as Sasha, as Becky, as Natalia, as Paige, as Charlotte, or as Alicia Fox, as Summer Rae. I even made that argument a few weeks ago. I think Summer Rae is better in the ring than Charlotte. If you would put Summer Rae in Charlotte's spot and give her the kind of opportunities that Charlotte has gotten, she would be consistently knocking them out of the park because everything that they've given her, she's made it work. She's turned it into gold. Charlotte is taking gold and turning it into garbage.
I mean, again, no qualms here. I feel like Summer, you speak about Summer, you're talking about somebody because you said, I liked your soundbite about Charlotte having such a well-written character, but the execution by the performer, by Ashley Flair, is atrocious. I feel like Summer is somebody that, while in ring, maybe not the best, I mean, I would agree with you above Charlotte. I think where she excels is the execution of character.
Right.
She really proved that to me with Lana 2.0 and that whole angle. I feel like if you were to give a character like what Charlotte Flair is supposed to be to Summer, Summer would have already been a women's champion by now. Like, we'd be talking about reigns that she would have had, because I feel like she would have killed it. Charlotte, to me, just isn't ready for prime time, and this proved it.
Charlotte has one thing going for her, and that is her name.
Exactly. It's nepotism. We always nepotism,
And that's so funny, too, because people complain about Roman Reigns because, nepotism, he's The Rock's cousin, he has all this lineage, he's Samoan, Vince is a sucker for Samoans, whatever. But at the end of the day, Joe Anoa'i is a significantly better performer than Ashley Flair. Roman Reigns is better than Charlotte by miles. He's just written a lot worse.
Yeah, that's really Roman Reigns' problem is the writing. Because in-ring and just delivery, I mean, guys, watch his old NXT stuff. He could be the heel of pro wrestling right now.
And that's
but
the
stubbornness,
thing, too,
yeah.
is like, even if you want to talk about the writing, if you can pretend in your mind that he already is a heel, he's great at it.
Yeah. I mean, you and I have had a running joke recently on TWitWoW that when we do live reactions, commentary should just be that he's the thoroughbred Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And the matches would take on a whole different perspective. Charlotte does not have that going for her. And can I just say, too, and I'm sorry, but I mean, this is the segment to take all the digs and air all our grievances. If you would have put Sasha in the exact same situation, she was getting all that heat, she would have worked it like the maestro she is.
Yeah.
Because
we've seen it already in Full Sail.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in Full Sail, when the crowd was getting worked up when Charlotte was talking, she did the exact same thing. She got flustered. She broke character. She told them to shut up. She can't handle a raucous crowd. And that is like the definition of somebody that isn't ready for prime time, as you said earlier.
Right. And not only that, I mean, do I really want to be this visceral? Maybe I should be. If you can't handle a raucous crowd, that is one of the central tenets of our business, of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, you may want to reevaluate your career choices if you feel like you can't handle raucous crowds. I'm sorry. Like, they're going to be there every week, every event, every venue. And
the
I would
more
hope
you
so.
do shit like this, the more that you take them giving you shit and let it affect you and let it get to you, the more they're going to be motivated to keep doing it and do it even worse.
And honestly, and it kind of gets me angry too, you know, the more that you and I talk about it, because any other woman in that locker room that watched this segment, especially one that's a heel, would have killed for the response that Charlotte got, and probably could get it if given the time.
Yeah.
Charlotte is given the time. She's given the microphone.
If you take any other female performer in that locker room, save for maybe like Rosa Mendez and Eva Marie, obviously we're making some clear exceptions here, and you write their character as well as you've written Charlotte's character for probably the last 6 months. And if you do that for maybe 2 months, they'll get like 10 times the response Charlotte's getting, and they'll be able to actually handle it when the crowd boos her.
Yeah. No, you know, the more you and I talk about it, the more, I'm sorry, I get angry, because how many of those women, especially those, again, who are supposed to be heel, would crave to be in that spot right now, getting that heat and be able to work that response.
I am not a Bella fan, but if Nikki would have been written this well, she would have done more with this.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Really a shame. And really, when I think about it in that context, man, Charlotte, you shit the bed and you have nobody to blame but yourself. I mean, you have prime time. You're the women's champion,
but that's the thing,
inaugural champion.
That's the thing that blows my mind, is it's so clear to us that she shit the bed, and yet people are still heaping praise on this.
Which, I mean, you know, that's anybody's prerogative, right? But I just don't see it.
I don't see it either. And I'm not even done talking about all the things that went wrong in this. She starts out talking about how when she was a little girl, she didn't have her dad around, which immediately, okay, I feel bad for you, Charlotte. You're getting some sympathy now. The crowd didn't actually give a shit, but, you know, maybe sitting at home, you might feel bad for her, right?
Right.
So then she says, well, my mom would, and this was the weird part too, she said her mom would rub her head to comfort her, I guess, and tell her that, you know, that daddy was working and that this is how he made money to support them and stuff. And she would always be so angry about that, but now she gets it. So it's like, okay, well, now Charlotte understands. She's bonding with her father because now she understands why he wasn't around when she was younger, and she's forgiving him, right? But then 30 seconds later, she twists and turns, and all of a sudden, now she hates her dad. What? You just had a moment of clarity where you understood him, and now you want him to leave your ring. What?
Dude, this promo, maybe it was just me, this promo seemed everywhere to me. And
it was everywhere, and yet it was nowhere.
Yeah. I think about the talent in that locker room, and I think, why Charlotte? I'm sorry.
And dude, and that's the thing too, is that even if everything else leading up to this point had happened the way that it did, and she had these horrible, character breaks, and the actual comprehensiveness of the promo just fell apart the way that it did. Even if all that happened, it might not have been as terrible if she had just nailed the climax, right?
Right.
Because we get to the end and she says, this crowd, they see you as immortal, but you're just, to me, dead. And all the air comes out of the building because nobody understands what the hell she just said, because she had one job. She was supposed to say, you're dead to me. And that might have actually hit a little bit, but she botched that. And it was horrible. And it made no sense. And the crowd didn't care. And
I mean,
she took a crowd that passionately hated her and got them to not care, which is literally the opposite of what you want to do with a promo.
exactly. I mean, to be fair, because I know we really gave this a lot of crap, at least we all understood what was meant when Nikki told Brie, I wish you would have died in the womb. You know, that was pretty correct.
As horribly acted as that promo was, at least she nailed her line.
Exactly. I don't know, man. I'm angry at Charlotte now after us really dissecting this segment, because I
I'm
realized...
not angry at Charlotte. I'm angry at the writers for putting it on her.
I'm
really,
angry...
it comes down to Vince, because the writers answer to him.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm really angry at Vince and the people that, have an active choice, and power to put Charlotte in this spot, because she clearly isn't ready for it. So, with that said, are there any other remarks you want to make about this segment?
I don't think so. I'm trying to think of the promo. I'm trying to think of the whole thing. Let me look at my notes real quick. Oh, and to top it all off, we didn't actually get a state of anything, because it was literally just her talking about her relationship with her father.
Yeah, and here I was hoping that we'd get a women's Money in the Bank match announced. So,
yeah. I mean, the state of the Divas division. I mean, if you're talking, mental Olympics and trying to make it work, yeah, Charlotte's such a heel. She thinks she is the Divas division, but that wouldn't make the WWE advertise it that way. So really, it's just poor execution. GG.
Sasha, please save us from this.
Sasha's not going to save us from shit, man. She's getting written by the same people.
I know.
I mean, maybe Sasha be the person to take the title off Charlotte, so we don't have to put up with these promos anymore.
Oh, we'll still have to put up with them, because Charlotte will never really be out of the title picture.
Yeah.
So,
worse than Reigns. Hashtag worse than Reigns.
Trend it. With that said, though, if you have nothing else to say, I've got nothing else to say. Let us get right into our Monday Night Raw review. And we open this baby up with Seth freaking Rollins. Crowd is raucous. They blow up for the man. It's amazing. He comes out, big smile on his face, dressed to the nine, starts cutting his promo, talking about, how he never lost the title, how, all that time he was away from the ring, all he could think about, was getting back here. It's been, I think he said, 200 days since he's been in this ring, just taking in the energy of the crowd. And I'm thinking, oh, they're really going to do it. They're really going to make him just be that triumphant babyface and, oh, thank you guys and everything. And then it happened. Ashton, you take over the Seth Rollins heel portion of the promo. How exactly did he diss this crowd here?
Well, he brings up, you guys seem to be cheering for me, and it's weird because the last time I was here, you guys really hated me. You hated me when I broke up the Shield. You hated me when I won Money in the Bank. You hated me when I cashed in at WrestleMania, which was the greatest cash-in of all time. And you called me one of the weakest champions ever, and you seemed to sort of want me to fail at every single pass, and yet it took me blowing out my knee to lose the title.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Seth is healing it up, and then next thing you know, Roman's music hits, and if you thought the heat was loud before, oh man, wait until you hear this. That is until they turn the mic volume down for the crowd and it doesn't sound so loud anymore.
This one segment should have immediately illustrated to Vince and everybody in the back with any kind of control or what have you, this was dead in the water.
Yep.
At whatever vision they had for this feud, immediately dead in the water. Because they were probably smiling, oh, look at Seth work that crowd, oh, this promo's great. And to be fair, if we take it out of this particular context of the triumphant return from injury and this and that, this would have been a great heel promo. I don't fault Rollins, but what I fault is who in the fuck, and I apologize for the language, but here I feel it really is necessary, thought in this climate, right, with these particular circumstances, oh man, Seth could totally be the heel in the program. Are you blind? Oh my god. Even if, right, you just wanted him to be face long enough to get the belt back, hypothetically, because I don't think he'll be taking it off Reigns. I don't know, that's a matter of debate. And then the night after he won the belt, he'd be given a victory speech, and then he shits on everybody. That would have been preferable than not even, again, as I said at the start of the show with the Heat of the Night segment, letting this moment breathe. You suffocated it right out of the gate.
Intentionally, though. They wanted to suffocate it. They saw the pop Rollins got last night. They know how over he was going to be. They needed to squash it because they needed to move forward with him versus Reigns, and they didn't want Reigns to get the heat that he's clearly going to get anyway.
Oh my god. Ashton, I gotta tell you, man, it still boggles my... I really don't even know what to say about this that I haven't already said in the Heat of the Night segment. I know you said quite a bit about it, too. I just feel like this is probably one of the biggest narrative mistakes, and that's really saying something for me, that WWE's made in recent memories. Because, yeah, I mean, they've done bad things with storylines and whatever, and I can let it pass. But you're talking about a guy that was really the man, was the world champion, comes back under these circumstances, and immediately they want to act like nothing happened. Yep. It's almost like they want to push the, the undo button on just that entire span of time that he was gone and just act like he was still the champion with the authority and everything else. But like you said in the Heat of the Night segment when we were discussing this, things change. And there were some seismic changes with how Seth dropped the belt and everything that went on in between. Mainly the Roman Reigns, and I'm going to qualify this here, babyface experiment being a complete failure. But
and honestly, dude, it's funny too because I saw a lot of people, specifically on Reddit, saying, well, they had to do this because, if Rollins would have come back and all of a sudden now he's acting like a face, you guys would have complained about that because it was out of character. But to me, he didn't have to act like a face. He didn't have to come out and, get that cheap pop and say the name of the city. He could have just come out and gone after Roman Reigns, and that would have naturally made him the babyface. But he had to establish himself as the heel before Roman came out, because otherwise, exactly like I said, it would have made him the babyface.
Right.
I mean, he didn't have to change his character. His character is he wants to be champion. Doesn't matter who has the title. All that matters is that he wants the title. Roman happens to have it. Vince wants Roman to be cheered. Crowd sings otherwise. I don't understand why we have to complicate this whole thing by trying to say, oh, well, it would have been out of character, when clearly it would not have been, because Seth's motivation the whole time is the title.
I mean, and just to package everything that you said, which I wholeheartedly agree with, by the way, into just a soundbite on mine, and then I'm going to pass it to you for any other remarks you might have. The whole thing just felt so manipulative, Ashton. I felt so manipulated. Because honestly, and this is just me, and I don't want to get hokey or this and that. I'm not trying to, do that. I almost wanted to scream at my computer screen, that isn't Seth Rollins talking. That is Vince talking through Seth Rollins.
Oh, 100% yes.
And oh my god. I don't know, dude. Floor is yours. That's really all I have. This was Vince talking through Seth Rollins. This was not Seth Rollins.
I don't even know if I would say that it's Vince talking through Seth in the sense that Vince was trying to say all of these things to the crowd. I think that this was just straight up, obviously Seth Rollins doesn't believe anything he said, but he has to say it because of Vince, because Vince wants him to be portrayed as the bad guy and get booed and get heat, because Vince wants Roman to be the good guy, which now, for the how how many feuds in a row now has Roman tried to be the good guy and failed?
I know, dude. I know. And this should illuminate an even greater lesson for pro wrestling in general. You're never going to get your way if you're trying to actively manipulate the flow of a story. I think the best stories always have an organic flow, or at least the control is at a minimum just to get to whatever endpoint you're envisioning.
Dude, and
But
it's so funny, too, because, like, if you think about it, Lucha Underground films, for season 1, it was 39. For season 2, it was 26. For season 3, it was probably going to end up being 39 again.
right.
Episodes before they get any feedback outside of the live crowd.
Right.
They film the entire season, and then they get feedback from the mainstream audience, from the bigger audience that's watching from their home.
Right.
WWE gets that feedback every week, and they still can't get it right as frequently as Lucha Underground.
We're ending on that, because I can't even say anything better than that. So to move on, Roman Reigns then comes out, and like you even touched on that earlier, the boos, of course, were atomic level.
And that's funny, too, because, again, the boos started at an atomic level, and then you can clearly hear not only the crowd, but you even hear Roman's theme song get turned down in volume.
Yeah. Oh my God, this was bad. He comes in the ring.
This is censorship, people, okay?
Yeah. I mean, we always do this joke. Don't censor me. I should. No. This is legitimate censorship. He is absolutely right, guys. And Roman comes out. He meets Seth face to face. Seth, though, backpedals. Now, I'm going to ask you this, Ashton, because maybe this is, again, just me feeling a bit salty. You know I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan. I don't like how things went down. I don't even like that he backed away. Again, I know why he did it, because he's supposed to be the heel and all that stuff.
No, you know what, though? I will actually kind of counteract this. I like that Seth is a huge weenie until that bell rings, and then he turns into a savage.
And you did say that in conversation to me tonight. And I can, I can appreciate what you're saying. It's just, I don't know, man. The whole redesign, rebuild,
honestly, dude, it's funny because it's almost like Seth is a smaller version of Brock Lesnar who just sees himself as Brock Lesnar. Like, he doesn't fight for free, you know?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool description of the Rollins character. You know, I gotta wonder, too. I'm sorry, man. This whole thing threw me for such a loop. He had such a great tagline with redesign, rebuild, reclaim. I wonder if he was pumped to be a babyface and to come back and do it all. And then somebody told him last minute, oh, yeah, you're going to do the program on the reigns, but we really want you to be the heel. And then it's just, oh, okay. They had so much good stuff there, and they squandered it. So Seth goes to leave anyway, but then whose music hits, Ashton?
Shane McMahon comes out and makes a match. Rollins, Reigns, Money in the Bank main event, and then for literally no reason whatsoever, this crowd decides to chant "You still got it" at Shane McMahon.
That confounded me as well. I don't even.
You still have the ability to make matches, Shane. You never lost it.
I know, you still got that golden touch to make main event, Shane-O. Great job. Oh my God.
I will say, aside from that one random chant, which maybe is just like an example of them being overexcited and not knowing what else to chant, I liked this crowd tonight, which is weird because usually Baltimore crowds are ass.
Yeah, they were pretty terrific.
I mean, that Charlotte promo alone was a great indication of how good they were.
Yeah, man. I respected them so much for not relenting and letting her know, like, no, your job is crap. This sucked. You failed. So, kudos to them for that. Seth's very happy with Shane's announcement. And he's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You hear that? And all that stuff. So Seth's fired up, and that makes one of us. So I really got to sort through my feelings about this guy. Again, I'm Seth Rollins forever.
Hey, man, whatever happened to the era of the heel?
And he can do it, but was this, again, it's all about the climate to me, though. And you squandered it, WWE. You squandered it, and you should be disappointed in yourself. Seth, though, I've said it once today on Tweetop, I'll say it again. If anything puts a smile on my face, even when they make crap decisions, it's that man's gotten back to his livelihood and doing what he loves. So, good stuff there. That's all I have to say about that. Do you have any remarks you want to make about this segment?
I think I'm good.
All right. So, what do we get next?
We got a Renee Young interview with Sheamus. which I actually thought Sheamus had a very interesting character arc tonight. But he makes fun of Sami Zayn. Specifically, he makes fun of his name. He makes fun of his entrance, the way he, skanks to the ring. And he made fun of his hat, which I thought was especially funny because Sheamus wears the exact same hat.
Yeah.
And then he says that what he does to Sami tonight won't be suitable for all ages. To which I responded, yes, it will. The product is still PG. Don't be a mark.
Oh, he said it. He said it. But yeah, good promo from Sheamus. It was a bit weird because it seemed like he was really just trying to find things about Sami that he could crap on him on. Oh, your head's stupid. Your face is stupid. And
you have red hair. Oh wait.
Exactly, right? It really did feel like that kind of promo, but
stupid soulless ginger. Oh crap.
But Sheamus' stock has been so low for so long now. It was a fine promo, but I never really take it too seriously because, well, I have no reason to take the character seriously at present. So it was good stuff, but that's really all it was.
Okay, well, up next was our first match of the night, Sami Zayn versus Sheamus. And before we even start this match, I just want to say I really missed hearing Sheamus' theme. I love it.
Yeah, so good. So good.
So good.
I gotta say, I enjoyed this opener. Despite my criticisms of Sheamus as a heel, and it's not even really Sheamus, it's just, again, you are what you're booked, and he really hasn't been taken seriously, at least in the product's eyes, for quite some time. These are the kinds of opponents that I feel like Sami works best with, those guys that really, impose their will, and Sami does the babyface comeback, and all that stuff. It's very basic storytelling within the confines of a match, and I feel like it works here. And, Sami does fight back against Sheamus. And in the end, he does hit the haluva kick. And he gets the 3 count. So, Ashton, how does it feel knowing that Sami's punched his ticket to Money in the Bank?
Oh, I was expecting it.
Yeah, I was as well. He certainly deserves it. I think
it's actually funny, dude. I actually predicted every single one of these qualifying matches before Raw started.
Yeah, because
I'm on a little bit of a roll, man. I predicted 7 of the 8 pay-per-view matches last night. I nailed all of the qualifying matches tonight. I'm on a little bit of a roll, I gotta say.
Yeah, you got your swagger going on, man. Good for you. Good for you.
I called Sami. I called Cesaro. I even called Jericho beating Cruz, which was controversial when I said it. I called Ambrose, which I think everybody already knew, and I called Owens over Styles, which you were confident in, but I think that was another one of those toss-ups that people weren't sure about.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 for 5, baby.
This is a great spot for Sami. Again, he's so over with the crowd. He'll be one of those babyfaces. I guarantee you Sami's going to be that babyface where when even a fingertip touches that briefcase, arena's going to explode.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to think, oh my God, he's going to be Mr. Money in the Bank.
Yeah, him and Cesaro, really, both of them.
Yeah, I could see that.
And depending on the crowd, Kevin Owens, too.
Kevin Owens, I was going to say Dean, because I think Dean could get that kind of response.
It's funny, because I don't think Dean's as over as those other guys.
I would agree. I do think his stock has dipped a little bit, and I wonder if he could get it back. I do think
I feel
there's
like
a chance.
Dean is just going to consistently be at that, 80% over level. He's going to be over all the time, but it's never going to be with more than, 80% of the crowd.
You know what, though? Seeing the Roman Reigns championship reign, that doesn't mean that Dean Ambrose can't be world champion. 80%, I would think, is more than enough by comparison. Yeah. So we'll see, but very happy for Sami to get this spot again. Just really building his, babyface credibility, getting in spots like this. And it's been a good year for him thus far since, again, re-debuting on the main roster. So I'm happy for him, and we'll see what he can do with it.
Yeah, man. Up next, though, we had another Renee Young interview. This time... Oh, actually, you know what? Before we get to that, post-match, after Sami won, Sheamus had a little bit of a freak out. He seemed like... He kind of had, all these emotions going on. He seemed desperate, depressed, angry, frustrated, all at the same time. He was, he had his arms up in the surrender cobra a lot, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean when I say surrender cobra?
I'm not familiar with that reference.
It's when you interlock your fingers and put them on top of your head and your arms kind of spread out like a cobra's hood.
Ah, I'm familiar with that pose. I've done it myself a few times.
Yeah, that's the technical term. Well, it's not technical, but the newly accepted term for that is the surrender cobra, because you're just like, oh man, did that seriously just happen?
Right.
That's kind of what Sheamus was doing a lot tonight.
And I have to commend commentary, which honestly, commentary didn't get on my nerves too much tonight. That was another good part of the show, at least for me. They really set the scene for Sheamus' kind of meltdown too, because they pointed out, well, at this point last year, Sheamus won Money in the Bank, and he would go on to cash it in successfully for a world title reign. And this year, he doesn't even qualify in the match. So I really appreciated commentary driving that point home. And yeah, Sheamus' freak out was a nice little touch that would have developments later in the night.
Yeah, man. But actually, up next, because we had Renee Young doing an interview with Apollo Crews, and Apollo gives Jericho credit because he's obviously tough because he went through hell last night with the thumbtacks. But then he brings up the new era, and I guess the new era is Sheamus' new trigger word because he attacks Apollo pretty relentlessly, pretty ruthlessly. He's really pissed about this whole new era thing. And then he tells Apollo, anytime one of you new era folks thinks about rising up, just know that I'll be there to knock you down.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to field a question your way here, given this segment. How do you feel about a Sheamus Apollo Crews program? Because that's where it looks like we're going to go.
It's something new for Sheamus, and Apollo needs an experienced worker to help kind of bring him along.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I agree with you. I absolutely love this choice because
I think the only
feel
thing that would have been better than this is Randy Orton, and he's not back yet, so this is perfect.
God, I miss Randy. He's next, hopefully, to return and just, do his thing. Not
Well,
talking about Cena
John
because we know.
Cena's
Yeah.
next. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously.
It's funny, too, because, Vince said at a press conference call recently that he was expecting Rollins, Cena, and Randy all to return relatively soon. But, a week prior to that, Orton put out a statement saying that he's not even going to be able to start rehabbing until, July or August. So,
Right.
who do we believe? Do we believe the boss, or do we believe the man himself?
I would believe the man himself, because clearly Vince has shown time and time again that he's full of shit. But to get back to the subject at hand,
tonight's show happened, which further established that.
Exactly. But to get back to the subject at hand, I do like the prospect of a Sheamus Apollo Crews feud because I feel like these guys are kind of in similar places right now. Again, Sheamus really hasn't done anything eventful. His stock has been kind of dipping, but where Sheamus is going to prove valuable, at least as it relates to this program, he has the credibility to make Apollo look like a big deal, being a multi-time world champion, having all the accolades that he does. This way, when Apollo does at least win one match in their program, which I do really see happening, commentary can make a big stink about it. Oh, well, Sheamus is a multi-time world champion. This and that. Apollo Crews just got this win. So I feel like he's the perfect opponent to, in your words, carry Apollo along, give him that base of credibility. And then after Sheamus, Apollo Crews, I won't say he'll catapult right to the main event scene, obviously, but I think he really would be a viable contender for a mid-card championship. And because Miz is still, for the moment anyway, Intercontinental Champion, my prediction still stands that Apollo's going to be the one to end that title reign, so.
Interesting. Yeah, you have been really sticking to that, haven't you?
Yeah.
All right, well, up next, the New Day come out. And they come out specifically to celebrate Raw's 1200th episode. That is insane.
Yeah, a weird time to have a birthday, because I know you said, and I was agreeing with you, that maybe it was going to be the New Day celebrating an anniversary of being together as a trio.
Yeah.
Random time to have a birthday, 1,200 episodes, but it is a huge deal. I mean, like you just said, it is insane.
Hey, man, we're over a third of the way there on TWitWoW. We're up to episode 420. This is 421.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, big things. Big things on TWitWoW, big things for Raw, apparently, 1,200. So they've got a cake. They talk about their victory last night over the Vaudevillains. But the big thing, they're going to decide who gets this cake, and I'm not talking about slices either. I'm talking who's going to eat a literal faceful, get their face smushed in that cake. So, and really it's all precipitated by the New Day realizes that when a cake's in the ring, nothing good ever happens, so they decide to take it out. But who's going to be the recipient? Could be somebody in the front row. Why, it could be JBL, and JBL's freak out was great. I don't know if I heard this or not.
I love, too, that Big E had to, strong style fake the cake throw at JBL in order to get JBL to react.
Yeah.
He went full force with that fake out. He really sold that, man.
Yeah, he did. Big E's amazing.
And JBL, like, he was horrified. Like, oh my god, this cake is actually going to end up in my lap, isn't it?
I thought JBL said, and again, maybe I could be hearing things, but it would still be appropriate given what JBL's character was. I thought he was saying, don't do it, I'll pay you. I think he was like trying to bribe him not to throw the cake in his face. At least I thought that's what I heard. But yeah, he was freaking out. He did not want that cake anywhere near him. And then they looked to Byron Saxton. And oh, Byron might get it. And Cole and JBL are egging the New Day on to do it to Byron, which just further validates that Byron is the bullied one at the announce table. And I really feel bad for that man. But then the party gets cut short because the social outcasts perpetrate an assault, Ashton.
Yeah, because... What?
Yeah.
That's just the reaction I had when the social outcasts came out. It's just... What? Are we taking the social outcasts seriously now? And then, as it turns out, no, because they got squashed in like 2 minutes. But seriously, random attack.
Yeah, random attack. And then to Ashton's point here, we get a 6-man tag, the New Day versus the Social Outcasts. And yeah, they get squashed. Big E and Kofi do the double team maneuver to Heath Slater to win it. And then after the match, Heath Slater gets, caked. Cake right in the face. The cake explodes. They smear it all in his face, Big E in particular. And then they take a taste. Personally, I always hate when food gets destroyed for comedy because it always looks so good. Then I'm like, oh, you couldn't have saved me a piece, but I digress.
And of course, freaking JBL says, oh, it's a double layer ice cream cake, Mogul. No, it's not JBL. It's clearly a simple 1-layer yellow cake. Shut up.
But you know what, Ashton? I have something that I want to ask you before we depart from this particular segment, because clearly not much happened, right? I mean, yeah, we had a good laugh, whatever. Who do you think are going to be the new number one contenders for the tag titles now that the Vaudevillains are out of the way? Do you think they're going to get a rematch, or do you think we're going to get fresh new contenders, and if so, who?
Ooh, probably Enzo and Cass, if I'm being honest.
Ooh, so you think we're going to get a face versus face kind of program for the tag titles?
They might even hold off to do that until SummerSlam, but I do think that it's kind of got that air of inevitability to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really does, because I think I shouldn't say that given what they've done with Rollins, but I was going to say even WWE would have to really be crazy not to see the potential in face New Day versus face Enzo and Cass, but knowing them, they'd probably turn New Day heel prior to the program going into action, so.
Maybe, I really don't think the Vaudevillains are going to get a rematch. We didn't even see them tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point, we didn't.
Maybe the Shining Stars get a shot? I don't know.
That's a good pick.
I would love it, but the reason I'm so apprehensive is because I don't know if the WWE wants to go there.
Right.
Like it seems like, from what I understand, I was reading on Reddit the other day that Vince was quite underwhelmed by the response to the Shining Stars debut last week, which, I mean, given the context of it, I don't know how whelmed you expect it to be.
Right. I don't know. I mean, yeah, Shining Stars versus the New Day would be just great in ring. To me, the program that, I've been waiting for, that I do think will be inevitable, and I know a lot of people I think feel the same way, New Day versus Anderson and Gallows, which I feel like is a greater likelihood now, given what happened tonight, which we'll get to later. But they're probably going to save that. I'm thinking that's going to be
I think that might be next. That might even be what we're looking at.
That might be what we're looking at. What I was getting ready to say was, I liked your Shining Stars idea, and why I like that, I really, and again, this may just be me projecting and fantasy booking, but I think New Day, especially with the title reign that they've had versus Anderson and Gallows, that's SummerSlam worthy, especially if they take the time to build Anderson and Gallows back up after their excursions with the Usos. So, I don't know. Decisions.
Usos.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
They really are. They're awful.
Anderson and Gallows were on tonight's show, and the Usos weren't, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, right? I mean, things looking up, hopefully, for Anderson and Gallows. But yeah, I just wanted to get your perspective about possible contenders, because that, at least, was one thing we didn't get further tonight, because, again,
I was kind of hoping it would be the freaking Social Outcasts, given that they attacked the New Day, but clearly not going to happen.
Yeah, Social Outcasts haven't been doing the best lately, but that's...
how great would that have been, though, if they got, like, a random... Because it was a 6-man tag, so you could have said, well, it wasn't a traditional tag match, so it wasn't what the New Day is kind of used to, But even still, just the idea that like Curtis Axel gets a random roll up on Xavier, even because he's kind of perceived as the weakest of the three, I think that would have been interesting.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there was a part of me that actually thought, "Oh man, are they actually going to do that?" Because
Or
they had
even
the
like
attack.
Bo hitting Xavier with a bow dog could have done it.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It would have been cool, but no. Quick 2-minute squash match. New Day wins, and then they nail Slater with the cake afterwards.
Right.
But then The Miz comes out.
Yes.
And Maurice introduces him. And then he repeats her intro, because obviously it needs to be said twice. And then he talks about how much of an underdog he was last night. He had a 25% chance to win, and he overcame those odds.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta tell you, I feel like Miz graduated from the Chris Jericho school of promo cutting, because he's done what I, read in Jericho's first book, and I've reiterated a few times here on TWitWoW. He put over those guys, made them seem like the biggest deal. He even called them flat out, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro, 3 of the top stars that WWE has today. And that just makes him look all the more glorious in the long run.
Yep.
That's how you heal it up, by making your babyface opposition seem like the end-all be-all. This way, the fact that you won looks all that more impressive. Not that hard. So I really have to commend Miz's promo here. I thought he did a great job making Sami, Kevin, and Cesaro just look like the biggest possible deal, which in the long run makes The Miz look like the biggest possible deal.
This is the kind of promo that needs to be shown on NXT classes.
I agree wholeheartedly. This was heel promo cutting. I don't know if you'd even want to say 101. I mean, I think it's a basic
201.
Premise. 201 at best,
Advanced.
Right? Yeah, at best. Miz is
I said advanced. Like it's
advanced. Okay.
It's not 101 because 101 is like for beginners. It's 201 because it's like the advanced class.
Right, there you go.
But really, it could be taught at any class, because if you want to learn how to cut a heel promo, this is a great place to learn from.
Right. And so Miz is talking about who's going to play him in his movie, and they're running down names, and Maurice, he's like, "Oh, well, what do you think, honey?" And he's like, "Oh, well, none of them are as sexy as you," and they're doing their whole thing. They're about to kiss. Cesaro cuts him off. We get our match. So, Ashley, what did you think about Cesaro versus Miz for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match?
I gotta tell you, man, there were a lot of matches tonight, and I don't remember a single one of them for any kind of like substantial, like, oh my god, this was awesome at all.
Interesting.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they were all good. Don't get
Right.
me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the matches sucked, because they didn't. What I'm saying is that there was nothing really memorable about the matches. Now, that's not to say they were bad. It's just that, they happened. And what really is important isn't necessarily the quality of the match, but the result of the match, because Cesaro wins with the neutralizer. Miz worked the ever-living shit out of Cesaro's bad shoulder, and that was cool.
Yes.
But Cesaro still managed to win using the neutralizer, which uses his other shoulder, not the weakened one.
Right. And I'm glad you brought...
Actually, I think he even made an adjustment, because he usually does deliver the neutralizer with his bad shoulder, and instead he switched to the other one for this one because it was in pain.
Way to keep the psychology intact, Cesaro.
And way to be a beast. I mean, ambidextrous, though?
I know, right? I gotta tell you, I'm so glad you brought up Miz working over the shoulder, because that's what I really liked about this match. I thought from a psychology standpoint, this match may have actually been the match of the night. I'm not even kidding. I mean,
it comes down to this or the main event with Owens and AJ.
Yeah, I mean, Miz worked a hell of a match as a heel. And Cesaro, and I mean this as a compliment, the guy's so fucking talented, he doesn't even have to try. Like, okay, my babyface comeback is just uppercuts and power and just being amazing. I can make that work. So, two great elements in there. But I really have to commend The Miz in particular, because, I mean, I expect greatness from Cesaro, and I've come to expect greatness from The Miz. So it shows how he's really earned his way into my good graces over the years. But yeah, psychologically, he worked a hell of a match as a heel, just picking apart that shoulder, and just, I think he even may have used Marie's once or twice, or she tried to, oh yeah, that's right, she did get in Cesaro's face once, but then he was talk to the hand, which was great. Yeah, this was just a really fun match.
Face.
Exactly. This was just really a fun match. And honestly, for as much as I love Kevin Owens and AJ, I almost want to say that this match beat that match, which is shocking for me to say, but I mean, these guys did a hell of a job. Cesaro wins and he advances.
Yeah, he did. And yeah, wow. I'm surprised you're picking this one over AJ Owens.
I feel like Miz, and don't get me wrong, Kevin Owens does great quality heel work in his own way.
Headlock
in his matches.
Master!
Exactly. Shut up, Cole! I can hear you from here!
That
You know,
was the
so
line of the night.
it's... You're so right, though. It's not even that, Miz is a better heel than Owens. To me, what it comes down to is they're two different types of heels in their own ways.
Owens is a cool heel. Miz is more of a traditional heel.
Exactly, and... it's all about what works in a given atmosphere. Given the kind of babyface that Cesaro is, Miz is the perfect type of heel.
They're
and
comic book characters.
Beg pardon?
They're comic book characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miz is like frickin' Lex Luthor almost, and Cesaro is Superman.
Right. Which, I mean, is a little on the nose, given that one of his nicknames is Swiss Superman, so there you go.
You're welcome. And also because Lex Luthor is Superman's biggest foe.
Right. So, Cesaro wins, he advances, nothing more you can say than that.
All right, up next, we had a Renee Young interview with Seth Rollins. He talks about being back, but it doesn't take long before he sees someone that he recognizes, and it's Stephanie McMahon, and he goes in for a hug, but she backs him off, and she tells him that things have changed around here, which I wish someone would tell Vince McMahon.
I know, right?
And then she sticks out her hand for the handshake, and they shake hands, and then she walks off. This felt like, the son arrives home to tell Mom, I did it. I graduated from college, and I'm back home. Son, you're adopted.
That's the kind of parent I can support, but that really relates more to my issues.
Oh, my God.
Believe me, I could say far worse on this program. That was tame.
It's true, people. It's true.
I gotta ask you. I'm sorry, that was probably one of the best concessions of all time. I gotta ask you, where do you think this is going? This whole, tension, apparently, between Stephanie and Seth, the dynamics changed.
Oh, it's WWE. I doubt it's going anywhere.
So, well, I mean, before we just depart on that, because I'll accept that answer if you really believe that, I'll put it to you this way. Do you think this may culminate in Seth Rollins versus Triple H, which a lot of people have been rumoring forever now? Do you think this could be a foundation for that?
I don't know. I think it really is going to depend on what happens when Triple H comes back. If Triple H kind of buys into everything going on with Steph and Shane, then I don't think anything's going to come out of this at all. I think it's just going to kind of, we're just going to kind of move forward acting as if the Authority was never a thing. If Triple H comes back and tries to start some kind of an alliance with Stephanie to try and run Shane out of the company and we get a real story there, then this becomes interesting because then Rollins is going to have to pick sides and we might even get the face turn that we were hoping to get just right off the bat last night and tonight.
Right. What would be interesting to me and why I asked you the questions that I did, I liked what you just laid out, right? Triple H comes back, tries to run league with Stephanie. We can get your brother out of here. We can regain the power. They go to recruit Seth, and then maybe that's when, because by then I would think that he'd be done his program with Roman. Then maybe they'd be comfortable with the face turn because he'd be like, well, where the hell were you guys when I needed you? I was competing with Roman to try and get back and I would want him to say my, WWE World Heavyweight Championship because no matter what happens in this program, he still never lost the title in his title reign. And, you guys weren't there for me, so screw you guys. And then we have that whole tension. Either that or, and I hate that we even have to discuss this as a thing because it is a thing, since they're committed to making Rollins heel, hopefully he evolves as a heel and finds another shrewd way to win now that he can't rely on the Authority or what's left of it with Stephanie, their resources to help him regain the championship.
I mean, there were quite a few matches, especially towards the tail end, where he wasn't relying on them to win.
That's true. That's true. I'm just wondering if Seth's going to be a heel now that's like, okay, I'm going to win by just being dirty combined with, like, my own merits, like eye pokes, low blows, that kind of dirty. Or if he's going to try and create his own, like, infrastructure of support now in response. Maybe get a couple of guys together, be like, hey, you want to run league with the champ or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see how Seth responds to kind of being an island at the moment is my point. So, yeah, I'll be keeping an eye open.
Yeah. All right. Can we move on?
Yes, we can.
Chris Jericho versus Apollo Crews.
I like this match. Yeah, I mean, it was good stuff. You had the wily veteran Jericho against the upstart Apollo Crews.
I mean, that's one adjective to describe the way Jericho acted tonight. I think another one would be salty.
Yeah, oh my god, he's so bitter.
He was such a grumpy old man tonight, and I loved it.
I would be too if I had bandages just cascading the entirety of my back because of thumbtacks last night.
It's so funny too because like we just had a discussion last night about what they did to fix that, and kind of the consensus was, well, they have that medical glue that they use to glue it closed. But my initial response was, well, no, they just put Neosporin on it and then cover it in a bandage. Well, frickin' A.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my god. I wonder if Jericho opted for that too. I wonder if he had a choice between those two treatments and he's like, no, the bandages will create a better imagery, really show my suffering, so we'll do that.
Really show off my pain.
Exactly.
You see these bandages? There are literal holes underneath them in my skin.
We do see Sheamus watching backstage on a monitor. I half expected a run-in from Sheamus. We didn't get that. We did get Chris Jericho beating Apollo Crews, on his own merits, even after everything. There was one concerning spot where Jericho actually went for a lion salt. Apollo tried, kipping up. I didn't know if he was going to try and catch Jericho or what, but he ended up collapsing because I think Jericho's foot, hit him in the face or something. It was awkward looking. But Jericho wins with the code breaker. He gets in Money in the Bank. And might I also add, this is Apollo Crews' first loss on the main roster. So we finally ended that streak. And, yeah, so Apollo's free now to feud with Sheamus, and Jericho's in Money in the Bank. So what do you think about that, Ashton?
Yeah, I dig it. I was expecting this just because, it doesn't necessarily pull the rug out from underneath Apollo because Jericho has a lot of credibility still, but it does kind of ground him so that we don't kind of have that air of, oh, he's perfect. I don't like him in that much because he's too perfect kind of thing about him. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I do
gives him a flaw. I mean, if it's only one loss, it gives him a flaw, and that's a good thing.
Exactly. And the loss was done in such a way, to WWE's credit. I mean, I don't know how much, they're really going to work with this, because now it's Apollo and Sheamus in the program. But because he did get attacked earlier in the night, it does leave that ambiguity, however, little it may be, that, if Apollo wasn't attacked, if he was, purely focused and 100%, maybe he could have beaten Jericho. But them both walking in with their handicap, so to speak, Jericho emerges victorious. I'm cool with it. It's funny that Jericho really, did invent the Money in the Bank ladder match, and he's never won one, but he's always kind of that go-to kind of heel when he's around in the company to just be put in that spot. I'm sure he'll do well again this year. Fun match. Jericho advances.
Yep. Jericho advances, and yet another Money in the Bank ladder match with Chris Jericho in it. And he's never won Money in the Bank either.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man.
Up next, though, we have Life Lessons with Bob Backlund. And this is the one about taking notes, where Bob asks, really demands Darren Young recite the presidents in order.
Can you recite the presidents in order?
I start at George Washington, and I end at George Washington.
I'm pretty much the same way. What was it? George
Washington? I want to say Washington, Adams, Jefferson, but then I get lost after that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm not even going to try. That would
I know that
be really
I know that the fifth president was another Adams, but I don't remember who fourth was.
Yeah, I can't remember fourth either. I'm a disgrace to my country apparently. I wish I cared
to
more.
The club.
Yeah, I wish I cared more than I actually do. But yeah, them's the breaks.
We wouldn't be able to get into this country legally if we weren't born here.
I know, right? You're not even wrong. Which says so much, but that would be for another podcast entirely.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you point blank, bro. Do you have anything new that you want to say about these events? Because really, I have nothing new to really say about these. I'm
looking forward to seeing what the next one's going to be because we saw this last week.
All right.
Up next, though, we had a JoJo interview with Baron Corbin, who brings up that people don't like the way that he beat Dolph Ziggler last night. But he did that because he can.
I'm sorry. That delivery was great. Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't know how you feel, but I'd be curious to know how you feel. I don't even know why this is an issue.
Dude, I don't think it is an issue. I think Corbin just wanted to say because I can.
Which, you know what? He can.
Yeah, I was just gonna say more power to him. That's brilliant. Especially because then Dolph Ziggler shows up and acts like a complete mark.
For himself.
I'm a better technical wrestler than you, Baron Corbin. Go back to Ring of Honor.
Oh my god, was he ever even there in the first place?
No, and that makes it even funnier.
Oh, Baron 2.0.
He belongs in Ring of Honor, seriously. Go take your technical wrestling there. This is an entertainment show, people.
But I realize now, because this has pretty much been the Dolph Ziggler character the entirety of his career, save for, hi, my name's Dolph Ziggler, right?
Yeah.
And I realize why it never used to annoy me before, which is actually kind of ironic, because he was a heel when he used to do it. But now ever since he's been a babyface and he still does it, it's like, oh my god, you sound so desperate, shut up, nobody finds you attractive, just go away. Like, that's just what it comes on. It's like he's screaming the loudest, begging for somebody to acknowledge him. I'm sorry, you failed. I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm going to acknowledge Baron Corbin because he won the match. Get over yourself. And again, I reiterate, you have no leg to stand on. I'm a better technical wrestler than you, Baron, and I type proficiently on the internet. It was a no disqualification match. You could have very easily done a low blow like Baron did, but you didn't have the foresight that he did. Face it, you got beat. And another thing I don't understand, if we're talking nitpicks, which, I mean, this is on me, I should have mentioned this in the opening segment, why are we doing this match again next week? Because I don't want to jump the gun. I know there was some stuff said, like, in between that, but ultimately we get around to, let's have another match next week. Why? Dolph won the payback kickoff. Baron won on an episode of Monday Night Raw. The third match, traditionally, when you book feuds like these, which seems all the time with your 50-50 booking, should be the rubber match. And it was no DQ, so no excuses, no anything, and Baron won. Why do a fourth match? Especially, and this is where it gets even more mind-boggling, because the whole thing is, well, I'm a better technical wrestler and I can out-wrestle you. It's going to be a standard match. So the same kind of standard match that Baron beat you in on Monday Night Raw a few weeks ago, right? But you're the better technical wrestler, right? It's just, logically, it doesn't work. I just had to get that off my chest. I'm sorry if it seemed like a bunch of hot air coming from me, but, like, just makes no sense to me, dude.
Well, I think the even bigger problem is the fact that Dolph laid down this challenge and we're coming off of Corbin winning. Dolph's probably going to win next week. It's frustrating, isn't it?
It is. It is. Oh, and then...
And what's even funnier is that I could even see the WWE being so bold as to make it a Money in the Bank qualifier, even though Dolph already lost one.
I know. And we'll get to that. Well, maybe not in a few moments, because I think there was some stuff in between, but we'll get to that. And yeah, it was great how Dolph closed. Oh, and you know, you might want to take a seat, take notes, prepare for next week, because I'm about to go have a match with Dean Ambrose, getting Money in the Bank and do something you could never do. Steal the show. That's my line, guys. That's my line.
Because I can't win matches, so I have to rely on having good ones.
Dolph, I'm really starting to hate you, man. I don't...
Dude, he's coming off as the heel, and he's going against the best heel.
I know. It just...
It's hilarious.
I have nothing else to say. Do you have anything you want to say?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm going to just move on, okay?
Sounds good to me, bud.
Up next, Enzo and Cass come out, because Enzo is actually back and is awesome, and they do their shtick. And then Enzo does his 0 dimes line, and they talk about the Dudley Boys, and then they kind of, well, specifically Enzo kind of loses the audience a little bit. Cass brings him back with the soft line. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say my favorite line was, we're like throwing a basketball into a swimming pool, we never miss, or just one of those lines. I thought that was great.
Yeah, there was another line in there that Enzo used about how he forgot to pay his electric bill and they turned off the lights. And I thought that was brilliant, but the crowd didn't react to it at all.
Yeah, I'm like, that was great, like, wordplay on saying I had a concussion. You show respect, crowd,
Yeah,
come on!
well, yeah, it's like there's a quick way of saying, well, not quick, but like a euphemism for saying I was knocked out, like cold, is saying, yeah, I had the lights put out or the lights shut off.
Right,
Like,
right.
that's another way of saying. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's like a regional thing, and Baltimore doesn't have that slang.
Maybe not.
I don't know. It seems. I mean, it's a Northeast. Maybe it's not a Northeast. I don't know. Because you would think like Northeast in general would have at least share similar slang. Because like I can understand like people in New York having different slang than people in Georgia, but we are talking about New Jersey versus Baltimore. They're literally not even two states apart.
Right.
And, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the crowd was just a little slow. Maybe I don't know.
But we get
I'm
the
doing
Dudleys.
a surrender cobra again right now.
Yeah.
Because I just don't get this crowd. They were so good a few times tonight, and they were so awful a few other times. Like, this crowd was literally Roman Reigns.
Mixed bag for the tie? I don't know.
That
But
was actually exactly what you should have said. I'm so proud of you.
I appreciate that. So Bubba comes out. We do a one-on-one match between Bubba and Big Cass.
Which was basically a squash, even though Devon did attack Enzo on the outside. It was still, I mean, it didn't actually matter.
Right, because Big Cass does get the win. My question to you, Ashton, is how did you feel about Cass winning with the elbow drop rather than the East River crossing?
Well, he won with the big boot and the elbow drop, like a combination.
Right, you're right. The elbow drop was preceded by the big boot, and they called the elbow drop something. Michael Cole gave it a name. Do you remember what it was?
Yeah. It was I have it written down here, the Empire Elbow.
Empire Elbow. So what do you think about that? You think
I thought it was fine. I thought it was solid. I mean, I don't think that they're going to just take away the East River Crossing. I think they're just adding to his repertoire.
Here's the thing. I've come to learn about myself that, much like, I mean, the greatest historical example would be the People's Elbow. As long as you give a very basic maneuver, a kind of an atmosphere, I can get into it. Because I feel like that's what AJ's learned how to do with the Phenomenal Forum, with taking off the elbow pad. And he did the throat slit last night before it, which I liked. It sets the scene, it sets the tone like, this is coming, it's happening. So if Kaz just creates an atmosphere with the Empire Elbow, maybe they are trying to make like a new People's Elbow almost. Because, I mean, Kaz is money. Nobody's going to deny that. So I'm cool with it too. I just think, put a little bit more of a creative stank on it, if you will. But I do like what they're doing with Kaz, for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing him. They're definitely putting that highlight on both these guys, but definitely kind of favoring Cass.
Yeah, which I think you and I knew from the word go was probably going to happen one of these days. Exactly.
All right. Well, up next was Charlotte's State of the Divas Division thing.
Can't we just skip it since we talked about it so much in Heat of the Night?
No, I'm realizing now there's actually one more line in my notes that made me hate this even more.
The floor is yours.
Are you at all familiar with Barbara Boxer?
No.
Are you at all familiar with what happened at the Nevada Democratic Convention over the last couple weeks?
You did tell me about that, yes.
Okay. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, I'm going to try and wrap it up as quickly as possible. Election fraud. I think that covers it, right?
Right.
No, seriously, though. So basically, it was Bernie versus Hillary, and Hillary won, even though I think it was 58 Bernie delegates were technically like forced out of the room that votes were happening in. And right. Hillary won by 30 votes. So literally letting the people in that would have voted for Bernie, which is technically what they should have done, would have swayed the votes over to Bernie. And there were motions to recount that got blatantly ignored by the chair of the convention. And it was just really awful. But the thing is, after the convention was wrapped up, a woman named Barbara Boxer got on the mic and said, "I'm friends with Bernie. Don't boo me. If you boo me, you're booing Bernie." And Charlotte did that here. She said, by booing, you're disrespecting him, pointing at Rick.
Right.
And that pissed me off even more. Because then she immediately turns around and talks about Rick not being there when she was a kid and then turns on him.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you people should respect him. You suck!
Contradiction much? But yeah, I mean, dude, like I said, I don't have the life in me to talk anymore about this segment.
This was one of the worst and probably the single weirdest segment I think I've ever seen in WWE. Because not only was it just completely disjointed, and I think that what's the opposite of comprehensive? Because that's a word to describe this.
I mean, incomprehensible.
There you go. This was completely incomprehensible. She basically threw a temper tantrum. And it wasn't even like a work temper tantrum in that she was like throwing the temper tantrum as a way to get back at her dad. It was a shoot temper tantrum in response to the audience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
she was crying while she was yelling and trying to sound angry, and she was venting while she was trying to get heat. And Rick was crying because he's a decent actor and was supposed to be. This is just the most WTF segment I think ever. I mean, you and I watch What Culture's WTF moments of the night, and I think that Ross might get like 40 just from this segment alone.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because earlier in the night, you and I said that Miz did such great, heel work, especially with his promo. You'd show that to a class. I'd show this to a class too on what not to do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this was awful. All right, that was my final 2 cents on it. Let's move on, please.
Okay, up next, Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler. I have no notes for this match except for Dean Ambrose wins because I really checked out while this match was on.
And I don't blame you. It was a fine matchup, but I think everybody again knew who was going over. Now, the big topic of conversation, though, and I'm going to field this to you. We've got Seth and Roman in the WWE World Heavyweight Championship picture.
Yes.
We've got Dean and Money in the Bank. Now, I'm going to put it to you like this, because I know when your brain gets firing up, there's no stopping you.
Yeah.
Even if not at this pay-per-view, do you feel like the groundwork's being laid for us to finally get that Shield triple threat at some point this year?
Yes, I do. I'm gonna take this all the way. You handed me the ball. I'm scoring a touchdown. Okay.
Do it.
I think that this match is not only going to happen at a pay-per-view, but I think it's going to happen in the most disappointing way imaginable because people want this to be a WrestleMania main event. They're going to forego that because Roman versus Brock and Roman versus Cena are going to main event the next 2 WrestleManias. They're going to forego the Shield main eventing a WrestleMania in favor of the Shield main eventing, SummerSlam this year.
All right.
They're blowing it that soon, and I would put money on it if I had it to put on it.
Now, I can't get too specific with my questions of, well, do you think Seth's winning or Roman's winning, or do you think Dean's winning Money in the Bank?
Oh, I don't have a prediction for that. I mean, even if you would take it there and try and ask me those questions, I have no clue. I'm just saying Dean's winning Money in the Bank. This feud is getting dragged out to SummerSlam, and we're getting the Shield triple threat at SummerSlam, and it's main eventing.
Interesting. All right, well, I definitely wanted your perspective on that because here's the thing. That was one thing that stood out to me in this match. Even JBL pointed out, if Dean won Money in the Bank, he could be waiting to cash in on either Rollins or Reigns. So I feel like WWE knows what they're doing with how they're deliberately putting the pieces on the board.
Yep.
And, I don't know. I mean, guys, again, if you've been listening to the product for even a sliver of time, you know who I'm picking to win Money in the Bank this year, but I think Dean is the biggest threat right now. We still have 2 open spots left, which we may talk about later.
I'll even spoil that. I'm picking Dean to win Money in the Bank because of that.
Yeah, he's picking Dean. I'm picking Kevin Owens, but I will say it would not surprise me in the slightest if Dean Ambrose won, given what it seems like they're setting up for. Either that or...
You know what would surprise me?
What's that?
If anyone other than Dean won.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't just say that because of Owens or Zayn. I mean, we don't even know who the other 2 guys are going to be because one of them still could be your theory of Cena since he's coming back next week.
Totally going to be Cena, but again, my thing with Cena is I think we're going to get Cena Roman at one of these next 2 WrestleManias for the main event.
Right.
I
Which
don't
means,
think Cena now the more I think about it, I don't think Cena's necessarily going to win Money in the Bank.
yeah,
He's
I
my
mean,
second pick. Cena's my second pick behind Dean, but it's like one and then a long gap until you get to two.
see, and again, nothing against Dean, right? Because if he would win, obviously I'd be happy for him. I feel like, honestly, I don't know if the moment's already peaked for him to win a world title and people would care. I don't know if we're past that point yet, but I do think
I
he
think
deserves a run.
I think a Money in the Bank win would reignite that interest, honestly.
And see, to me, I don't disagree with you, but he just always struck me more as a babyface, and I feel like that almost was proven last year, that it would be so much bigger if he won a match like the Royal Rumble, especially from a low number. But because there's only one champion nowadays, you know they want to give the Royal Rumble probably to bigger names like a Cena or like a Lesnar.
Oh, absolutely.
And
And that's how I foresee whoever, whether it's Brock or Cena, ends up facing Roman at Mania getting to that point is by winning the Rumble.
yeah, and see, that's the only reason why, even rationally speaking, because obviously subjectively I'm putting all my eggs in the Kevin Owens basket. Even rationally, though, while I'd be tempted to pick Dean, I don't know. Could they actually do the unthinkable and have him win the Rumble? I doubt it, given, again, I think your vision, Roman versus Brock and then Roman versus Cena, Vince probably gets a boner. Like, he pitches a tent just thinking about that shit.
Yep.
But I don't know. All I know is we've got very intriguing circumstances with Seth and Roman vying for the title, and now Dean officially in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I feel like we're finally going to get that triple threat, but I agree with you. I think that's going to be the SummerSlam main event because they don't believe that should headline a WrestleMania, which again is a damn shame, but
Yep.
I digress.
Yep, exactly. That's why I said it's the most disappointing thing because it should be a WrestleMania main event, and I think everyone would agree with that. But WWE says no. We're putting Roman in singles matches at the next two WrestleManias because he's the man now. He's our guy.
Right.
We can't have him in a triple threat with two lesser entities.
Exactly. Ugh, it stings hearing Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose be classified as lesser, but you're not even wrong.
You think it stings to hear it? Imagine how it felt for me to say it.
I am so sorry.
As disingenuous as I tried to be, it still sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, so up next we had Ric Flair walking backstage, and he gets consoled by Arn Anderson, and then Renee asks him what he has to say. Flair denies the interview and just kind of walks away. So I'm hoping that this means this is the last we're going to see of him.
I was just getting ready to ask you if you felt like this was going to be the last we were going to see of him, or if he was going to be in like Paige's corner for Money in the Bank or something, because she did get the last non-title victory over Charlotte, during the whole Natalia Charlotte program.
No,
So,
I'm thinking this. You know what I'm going to say? And again, this is me going for the half-court shot, brother.
right.
I don't think we'll see Rick again until SummerSlam, at which point he'll help Sasha beat Charlotte for the title.
Oh, there you go. That's interesting.
It'll be like the big surprise where they'll be in a match, or they'll both come out, and then before the match starts, Rick's music will play. He'll come out and be at ringside, but right when you think he's going to help Charlotte, he ends up helping Sasha.
Right.
To teach Charlotte a lesson.
I like that prediction. I'm going to remember that you put that forward, because I think actually has a viable chance of happening. But with that said, let's move on.
It would make sense, but it is WWE, so it probably won't happen.
Right.
Because it would make sense.
Right.
So up next, we had the Shining Stars pre-tape. They talk about their debut last week, and then they invited the entire WWE universe to come to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I mean, I really have nothing to add, mainly because if I'm being honest, my stream had problems during this one thing.
Yeah,
but
and to be honest, I was underwhelmed just because I wanted to actually see them wrestle, which is what they're the best at.
Exactly.
So,
And from what I did catch of it... Yeah, exactly. And from what I did catch of it, and from what you just surmised, it didn't seem like they said anything new. So, yeah, I can't wait to see the Shining Stars in the ring again, but until then, we can move on.
And then we get to our main event. But before the match starts, we get AJ Styles cutting a promo, which I feel so bad for AJ. Because, I mean, first of all, he's not the best promo in the first place. But then when you ask him to cut a promo using material that he doesn't actually believe in, you can tell, and you can see it on his face and in his delivery. And when he says, "Oh, Roman is one of the best guys I've ever been in the ring with," you can't help but chuckle a little because it's so incredibly obvious that he is speaking through Vince McMahon.
Right. Vince is just like, damn it, AJ, give Roman that credit, damn it.
Put him over, damn it.
Exactly. And AJ, he even kind of resigns. He throws his arms up when he gets met with the first wave of boos. Hey, I'm just, being serious. No, you're not, AJ. And we can see it. But it's not you. We know you're in pain. Just don't try and lie to us, AJ. I thought we had a better relationship than that.
They need to sign Johnny Rudo to tell it like it is.
I know, dude. Actually, no. No, they don't, because he's doing the best work in Lucha Underground right now. He better stay there. I'll come back to that cesspool, having him job to Roman Reigns for like 3 fucking pay-per-views.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, just let him keep cutting internet promos. It works for me.
Exactly. Just make him keep making allusions to Roman Reigns.
It's funny, too, because when he does say something about somebody in WWE, everything that gets brought up, it is adorable to see people defend WWE.
I know, right? Well, you never did anything there. Please. I mean, could you be any more...
Roman Reigns is a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion in this company that makes up their championships.
Oh, internet. You never cease to amuse me.
Yeah, well, I won the frickin' 6th grade spelling bee, so suck it, Roman.
Yeah! Spelling bees rule. I got 2nd place in my 8th grade one. I could have gotten 1st, but, tetanus, man. Tetanus.
Tetanus?
You know what? I feel like that actually is how it was spelled, and yet I botched so bad that I thought they said Tetris, and I'm like, oh, I play that game. And, I can tell you the only laughter I heard was the one, inside, because I felt like everybody was mocking me. So that's another layer of psychological scarring. I feel like you guys are really piecing it together these last few episodes of TWitWoW.
I just Googled it and I got it right.
There you go.
It's Tet-anus.
Tet-anus. But I gotta ask you, AJ does this promo.
Yep.
He blames both the Usos and the club. Now, I'm going to be honest, right, before I get your response to the question I'm about to ask you. At first, I didn't get it, obviously, because anybody who watched Extreme Rules, and I know you and I did, we did live reactions, for God's sakes, we know that he got the Styles Clash on the chair, and the Usos, one of the Usos pulled AJ out before he could get the full 3 count.
Yep.
Why I feel like him blaming the club also works, albeit loosely. They did come out first to assault Roman. So maybe in AJ's mind, because the club came out, that precipitated the Usos to come out because, of course, they're going to defend their family. Yep. And them being baby faces, it would be, or at least, again, in Vince's mind, being baby faces, it would be illogical for them to be the initial antagonizers. Yep. So because the club were the initial antagonizers, the Usos were just responding with self-defense, which AJ got caught up in. So I think he was more or less saying, well, if the club didn't come out, that wouldn't have started the chaotic chain of events, and I would have beaten Roman straight up because everybody saw the Styles Clash on the chair. So I do think his justification works, which means the rest of the promo works. But I wanted to get from you both how you felt about this interaction between the club and AJ, and what you think this means for all 3 guys going forward. Like, what are they going to do? How is this all going to culminate?
Oh, man. Yeah, I dig the promo, other than the obvious, Roman ass-kissing.
Right.
But then the club came out, and they said that AJ changed. Well, specifically, it was, things have changed. AJ, you've changed. And then they talk about how if we hadn't been beating up all the guys that you had a problem with, there were a lot of bar fights that you wouldn't have walked away from. And I think that if we hadn't been beating everyone up that you've had a problem with in the WWE so far, you might not have made it to Extreme Rules. Can I just say, Luke Gallows actually did a pretty good job talking tonight. I mean, I've always known about how great Carl Anderson is on the mic. Luke Gallows surprised me tonight.
Yeah, I mean, to go from Festus, who never said anything, to Luke Gallows of the Straight Edge Society, who I still can't remember him saying much, to him finally asserting himself. In fact, I even like how he started, because it's like, hey, like a cutoff kind of term when you know you're about to take control of a conversation. And I'm like, oh, shit, he talks! Like, it was pretty revelatory shit, my man, I gotta tell you. My mind was kind of blown. And
and especially, too, because Carl always did all the talking in the Bullet Club over in Japan.
Exactly. I mean, Luke Gallows was always the guy that just tried to look good in that face paint, you know?
And he did talk to the cameraman a lot.
Yeah, and he
And
lost.
he talked to his fellow Bullet Club teammates when they got distracted by Maria.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the jobber of the Bullet Club, at least as far as G1 Climax is concerned. But, yeah. So he does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that is kind of true, isn't it? I mean, even Fale won more matches than him. Anyway, we're off track. Let's get back.
But yeah, I mean, to get back to the central point, like, seeing him cut that promo, that was an unexpected and, I will say, pleasant surprise. And, you know, what the promo really gets to is, well, AJ's like, oh, you know, I don't want to end the friendship. But Anderson and Gallows, and I really can't even say I entirely fault them for this. And the funny thing is, Ashton, well, first, before I get to my next point, let me just lay everything out clearly. Anderson and Gallows say, well, we're not brothers, and we're not friends.
Yeah.
And then AJ
we're not
said,
friends anymore, AJ.
oh my God. But then AJ's like, oh, all right. Well, if we're not any of that, then I guess we're more or less, you know, peers in a way. And like right now, this is my ring. So, you know, please get out. What was interesting to me, though, Ashton, and again, maybe I feel like I've done a lot of projecting tonight. I don't know. Maybe I'm salty, whatever. I feel like, well, you know, which again, with how the show started, I mean, who could really blame me?
That's true. I'm so sorry that they did this to you.
You know what? I deserve it for all the time I was laughing at you with the whole Natalya, Charlotte, please don't do this to me. And now I feel like I'm screaming.
You know,
please
that's
don't do this to me.
Great point. I don't feel bad anymore.
Yeah, don't revel in it. Don't be a douche. But
I'm already reveling in it, friend.
I wanted to ask you sincerely, was it just me, or did it feel like anyway that commentary seemed to be giving Anderson and Gallows right in this conversation? Because I heard them even say, well, AJ was frustrated, this and that, and when you're frustrated, you make weird decisions. Like, they used the term weird in language like that. They weren't clearly saying, well, oh, you can't blame him, John, like, WWE World Championship and Anderson and Gallows, you know, whatever. It almost seemed like they sympathized to a degree with Anderson and Gallows. Did you get that vibe at all? Or, like, am I just talking to myself here? Or, like, where were you at?
I honestly, John, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to commentary, so the fact that you're telling me this is news to me.
Right. I mean, well, maybe I'll ask our audience, guys, what do you think? Did it seem like commentary was more sympathetic to Anderson and Gallows? I feel like Byron was defending AJ a little bit, but Cole and JBL, they were like,
well, yeah,
seems like
JBL is the heel, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but even Cole, though, who I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, sometimes I feel like Cole just agrees with JBL because JBL is not Byron.
Why do you guys hate Byron so much? This man's doing a job.
Because he's there to take their gerbs.
Like, I have a right to hate Rick Knox. His parents should have punished him for being alive, but Byron doesn't do anything wrong at all. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Poor Byron.
Again with Rick Knox.
Hey, yeah, again with Rick Knox. Maybe if he starts properly officiating Johnny Mundo matches, we wouldn't have a problem. So, yeah.
Dude, I'm going to laugh so hard if Johnny Mundo ever wins the world title and Rick Knox refs the match.
Yeah, then we'll all come full circle, and I will hug Rick Knox. I will be like, you did the right thing, okay? So, yeah, we'd be cool.
Dude, if that ever happens, oh my God, that would be a legendary live reaction moment.
Yes.
For so many reasons.
Yeah, that'd be so good. But what else was so good was when AJ got Anderson and Gallows out of the ring, they did their whole thing. Kevin Owens comes out, and we get our main event.
Why did he come out?
Well, because of the match. Kevin Owens, AJ Styles.
It was a joke.
Well, it landed horribly. Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. Of course it is. And great stuff here. You even pointed out, well, we both kind of pointed out 2 great moments. Headlock Master, which, it's kind of been Kevin Owens' thing. And one point, when AJ's starting to get back on offense, but Kevin then just squashes it, snuffs it out. He's trying to think of a plan. Shut up, Cole, I can hear you from here. It's like Cole and Kevin Owens have this little, kind of beef going on, and I'm still waiting for Cole to get powerbombed. And it hasn't happened yet.
Which so my heart a travesty, if I might add.
For once, in regards to Kevin Owens, you and I are in complete agreement. It is a travesty, and that needs to be remedied immediately. Because my heart just grows heavier by the week. But speaking of power bombs,
that checked out, man.
I know, I'm probably dying. But AJ Styles gets power bombed right on the steel steps in a great visual and a great moment for the match. I will say I almost wish that could have been a match ender because, I mean, you even pointed out, it seems like the steel steps would be harder than the apron. But AJ, I feel like it didn't even take him till 9 to get back in the ring. I feel like ref was up to like 6 or 7 and AJ got back in the ring.
Which is weird because Sami Zayn was like disabled from being powerbombed on the apron.
Right. But then again, that was also NXT. And
they changed things.
Right.
WWE's biggest problems 2016.
Yeah, I feel like change has been a dominant word in our vocabulary tonight in this review.
Yeah, because they're unwilling to adapt to 2016, which NXT has done a decent job of. And then when the NXT guys get called up, the WWE is a little bit too eager to change what they had right into, oh, well, we need to make this more appropriate for the main roster, damn it.
Right. So, AJ and Kevin keep going back and forth, after that. I mean, I know you said in conversation, Kevin seemed to have the Styles Clash well scouted.
Yep.
And so he countered it twice. AJ tries going for the phenomenal forearm. Kevin Owens super kicks AJ's feet out from underneath him. He gets straddled on the ropes. Then Kevin does the pull arm variation, grabbing the arm and pull him into him variation of the pop-up powerbomb. He hits it. Kevin Owens goes to Money in the Bank, one step closer to making KO for Money in the Bank 2016, trend it, into a full-blown reality. Kevin Owens wins, AJ loses, so Ashton, it's very clear-cut to me where Kevin Owens is going from here. Obviously, he's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. In your opinion, what's AJ doing at the pay-per-view?
Honestly, man, if they would have just debuted Finn Balor tonight, it would have been an easy answer, but I have no clue.
Maybe they still will, but
maybe they'll team him with someone and they'll take on the club, like 2-on-2 tag team match kind of deal.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe like, I don't know, like AJ and the Dolph maybe versus the club. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe the club would find somebody, and then AJ would have to find 2 other people. Oh my God!
Oh God! Don't know.
You know where I'm going with it, don't you?
No, he is not teaming with the Usos. No.
He may. And then
He's not allowed.
That visceral response, you're just projecting your own pain. It very well could happen. It's Vince. You've been saying all night that it's Vince. You don't think Vince would be like, oh, well, now that AJ's away from the club, now we can do what I really want to do with him from the get-go. Team him with the Usos so they can dance together and stuff.
Why would you do this to me?
Why would I do this to you, bitch? Look in front of you.
You're Vince making me think about it, though.
Oh, please, you're not traumatized.
Because it crossed my mind earlier and I intentionally blocked it out. Now you're making me bring it back up.
Yeah, well, repression for the loss. Think about it. AJ and the Usos teaming together. Yeah, now it's out there. I'm sorry. I'm picturing you as Vince and the whole Seth Rollins thing. I think I'm taking a lot unnecessarily out on you. But yeah, I mean, it very well could happen.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to every day in our relationship.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's never going to improve, and he has no way out. I mean, you guys should really see it. It's really quite something. But yeah, you don't have a definitive answer for what AJ's going to do. I don't have a definitive answer for what AJ's going to do. You'd think it would be something against Anderson and Gallows. Question is, would Anderson and Gallows be running with somebody else at this time? Finn Balor. Or is it going to be maybe a handicap match, possibly 2-on-1?
Oh, God, what if they do the club and Balor versus AJ and the Usos? No!
No.
That would be so horrible!
Yeah, it'd be pretty bad. For no other reason, because we'd be doing the Usos and Anderson and Gallows again.
Again! Oh my God.
I mean, it would probably be numbed by Finn's presence, because I'd be so happy to see him there. But then again, would I really? I mean, after this discussion, why should I be excited about Finn getting called up?
But then Finn would debut in a match against the frickin' Usos.
But then Vince
We saw how well that's worked out for the club, right?
Right, yeah, that's true. knowing Vince, Finn would probably eat the pin. Gotta pay those dues, damn it. And, oh my God. Yeah, scary how right that sounds,
It
doesn't
would
it?
be
And
the old Bullet Club finish too, where AJ has him up in the Clash and the Usos double super kick. Oh God, no!
oh man, and you're probably too sweet with the Usos too. He'd even give them the sign.
Oh God, why are you making me think about this?
Oh, and at first I was in pain, but then seeing how much pain you were in, I started to take a perverse enjoyment in it. So I guess it all kind of worked out. But anyway,
You're the
yeah,
worst.
I guess we'll see what AJ does with Money in the Bank. But that seems like a wonderful idea from where I'm sitting. So
John, I know someone that you'd be really into. I think that you two would get on really well. I think you might even want to marry her.
you're gonna say Natalia, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm such a burn victim. How will I ever recover?
You,
Pipe down.
you two have so much in common right now.
Yeah, your pain sounds delicious to me right now.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I.
you're both the worst.
Have fun dealing with the image of AJ too sweeting with the Usos and then dancing with them like
Can
he's.
you stop?
I just you pushed, I just pushed back. So now, with that said, do you have any concluding remarks about Kevin Owens punching his ticket to Money in the Bank?
Yeah, how many exactly of a pill can I take to die?
I'm thinking 2 with an 8-ounce glass of water should probably do the trick.
That'll put me to sleep, not in the grave. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, look, are you going to leave me here to do the rest of the show by myself? I mean, you're not going to do it on the show, right?
I
So what's
mean,
the matter?
after that, do you really think you deserve any better?
Yes. What do you think I'm going to say? No? Like I
Well,
possess that level of self-awareness?
I
Get
mean,
the
I was
fuck out of
hoping
here.
you would be capable of compartmentalizing here.
No. Finish the show with me. We got at least 3 more segments. So, yeah. With that said, let us get on to high spots and low shots. I want to say the low shot this week is us for
Us.
that segment. Yeah. Um. No, I will say though, my low shot is AJ Styles because in one segment he lost his friends because he did try to keep the friendship. He just wanted to end the professional side, so he lost his friends. And he's not in the Money in the Bank ladder match. He lost that too to Kevin Owens. So AJ had a really horrible night tonight. He's my low shot.
I don't disagree. That's a solid pick. Can I make my low shot Charlotte, or just all of the women that are missing out because of the amount of TV time she's taking up?
I mean, we've taken liberties with this segment before, so I'll allow it.
I know, but it seems a little bit repetitive given our heat of the night.
That is true.
No, you know what? My low shot is Apollo Crews because he got beat down and then he lost an opportunity, and it was his first loss on the main roster.
Yeah, so much for being happy to be here, Apollo.
I mean, he's still going to be smiling next week. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah, you're so right.
I mean, dude, he got beat down earlier in the night, and his entrance, he was smiling.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So
my high spot, clear as day, Kevin Owens.
Of course.
Shout out to DBK on Twitter and The Smark Show and Alex Foster, all of these guys supporting the KO for Money in the Bank 2016 hashtag. I'm sure there are others. Anybody who supported that hashtag, thank you so much. I love you. We're one step closer. We're going June 19th. We're taking it all the way. Kevin Owens is going to get that briefcase, and what a night he had tonight. He has to share the space with Sami Zayn, which I groan at, but we'll be able to handle him. And he got a very impressive win, clean, I might add, against AJ Styles. So Kevin Owens was firing on all cylinders tonight. Easily my high spot.
Yeah, you just keep on garnering that fan support, and it's just going to be that much more devastating when somebody else pulls that title down on the 19th.
Is this the whole AJ Usos thing, or...
More just, a little reality check, I guess.
Wow, bitch. Who's your high spot?
Well, I mean, after that, clearly you are my high spot, John.
Thank you.
No, I think I almost have to make my high spot Enzo and Cass, don't I? I mean, Enzo's back. Cass got a dominating win tonight over one of the Dudley boys. Yeah, I mean, they had a great night tonight, and one of the very few people tonight that had a great night with no real downside.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent pick, bro. I really like that. Great to see Enzo back. Didn't compete tonight, so I think they're still taking it slow. But he was back on TV, and considering that his, real gift is the microphone and how he works it, it's just a great sign all around. So good stuff.
Smack talker Skywalker, how you doing?
Exactly. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'll give that impression a solid 9. That was impressive. With that said, next segment, Raw request. Ooh, what am I gonna do here? You know what? My Raw request.
Your Raw request always feels like you're standing in front of like a section at the grocery store and you can't decide which brand to go with.
That gets a little too real for me because that actually happens a lot. That's why I really don't actively participate in the grocery shopping. I just like to stare at all the food and just salivate. Because yeah.
You just like to be surprised when they get home with the groceries.
Oh my god, yeah, that's my favorite thing. But enough about me.
Hey, baby.
We've got Cena next week. He's probably gonna do Rusev. Which, by the way, while I'm talking about Rusev, this would be, I guess, the perfect time to pipe in. Thursday night on SmackDown, we did get 2 title matches announced: Cesaro versus The Miz, which I like because Cesaro did beat Miz tonight, and the other one, which is logical, Rusev versus Kalisto, because Kalisto has a return match. Both are happening on SmackDown this Thursday.
Nice.
So yeah, I might actually watch SmackDown this week. With that said, though, if you're gonna do John Cena Rusev, don't make it painful. I know that's vague.
Oh, they're going to. It is going to be the exact story.
But I mean, can you really do? Because I feel like Rusev hasn't. Yeah.
America.
I feel like Rusev hasn't even badmouthed the country though, like in a while. It doesn't feel like he's gone like on an anti-USA tirade, or Lana for that matter. I just feel like, yeah, we're from another country, but
I was just gonna say he exists and is not from the USA. Therefore, America.
I hate fucking xenophobes so much. Oh my god. Yeah, just
get used to it, brother. We're about to have one running the country.
And you know what? At least, you know what? I know John Cena just came back and everything. At least give Rusev something. I still feel like even with a title, he's underrated, in the company. I feel like he's so good. Don't shit on him this Monday. That'll be my request. Don't shit on Rusev. Give him something. All right? Because I know they're going to shit on him, and that's why that's my request. Because I know it's going to happen. I know John Cena's going to put him in that STF, and Rusev's going to pass out. Oh my God, John! I've never seen John Cena in a front of this again. Yes, you have. You have the other, 50 times you've said that exact line. Don't you lie to me. Don't you lie to anyone else. And again, Rusev's criminally underrated. He deserves, and I can't believe I'm saying this, he deserves better than to work with Cena. And that's nothing against Cena. I love the US Open challenges. I love when he works in the mid-card. But with storylines like this, the whole America versus the foreigner, not even anything malevolent, just foreigner, because people know that's not a malevolent thing on its own, right? Actually, I feel like they don't, which is why the refugee crisis is a thing. But again, this isn't a political podcast. But no, it is going to be a malevolent thing because then Rusev's going to be like, oh, America sucks. John Cena's going to be like, what? First Amendment for everybody but you, Rusev. And it's just all going to go to shit. So that's my Raw request, denying the very reality in front of me. Don't shit on Rusev. So now, if I could just hold on to a little bit of this saltiness, Ashton, what's your Raw request?
There are 2 ways that I could go to respond to everything you just said.
Which are?
Well, there's the me way, at which I would say, oh my God, John, if you were any more on the nose, you would literally be suntan lotion. And then there's the John Cena route, to which I would literally just say, fine speech.
Oh, Cena.
So I think I'm going to go with that one because that got the better reaction. So, John, fine speech.
Thank you. Do you ever feel like John Cena cries into his money?
I think he just cries into Nikki Bella's cleavage.
He's like, oh, Becky, oh, Nikki, everything they say about me is so true, but I'm so rich.
And she just goes, I know, that's why I'm here.
Oh my God. I don't know who's really terrible, Cena and Nikki or Ashton and John of TWitWoW, people. Sometimes it really is a debate with the stuff we come out with, but I'm still going to say Cena and Nikki at the end of the day.
Well, we're going to find out because Total Bellas is a thing.
Oh, it is a thing? Oh my God. I'm just bleeding that cash cow dry.
We're going to get to see that much more of actually cool person Cena, douchebag, uptight, prude Brian, Johnny Ace.
I just mean, while we're on the subject of Cena, and you saying absolutely right, because we've seen Cena on Total Divas, and he's just so awesome. I wonder if he's ever tempted to just look right into the camera, and he's like, yeah, see this? You could have gotten this every week for the past 10 years, and they didn't give it to you. How's that taste? And then I would be dumb enough to actually respond, it hurts, and then I'd cry for 10 minutes. Oh, my God.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would. Don't tell me what I do. Don't act like you know my bodily reactions.
Don't censor me.
Exactly. Like,
who do you think you are, Vince McMahon?
Yeah, to a general audience, but yeah, I really am curious though. What is your Raw request? Because we are on the road to Money in the Bank, and all this stuff's happening. So,
yeah,
what do we got?
My Raw request is to have the final 2 people announced by the end of next week's Raw.
There you go. I like that. Short, sweet, to the point, and relevant to what we're dealing with. So, yeah, great stuff.
Which is weird, though, because doesn't a final 2 mean that there are only going to be 7 people in Money in the Bank?
That's right. WWE loves those odd numbers.
I hate those odd numbers. God.
I do, too. Yeah, it really is something. Like, normally I know I always get on you for, like, the pet peeves that you have, but that's, like, one that you and I share, because I'm like, why not just round it out? Why not 8?
They're just like, oh, but guys, we need to do something different, so let's have an odd number this year. Like, no! That's not the good kind of... A good different is actually changing something about the fundamentals of the match, not just adding or removing one person to make it an uncomfortable number of people.
You know what the shame of everything you just said is, though? Like, somebody... Beg pardon?
That you agree with it?
Well, I mean, yes, but I think everybody could have seen that coming. What I was going to say was that what you said earlier was, like, the insight of, oh, let's just do 7. That would be celebrated in the offices. Like, yeah. I can just picture, like, Frank from accounting being like, well, guys, numbers are my specialty, so how about this? Instead of a 6-person Money in the Bank, we do 7. And then they all leave thinking, that guy is going places. No, he isn't! And it's your fault.
I just imagine the creative meeting, and it's all tense and silent because Vince is sitting at the end of the table, and one of the writers just pipes up and he goes, Vince, I know you did mention that you wanted us to change something about the Money in the Bank ladder match this year, so I was thinking, in past years we've had 5, 6, even 8 participants. What if we did 7 this year? And then there was like a good 2 full minutes of silence, and next thing you know, Vince just goes, I like it, damn it.
That couldn't have been any more perfect if you tried. So yeah, your Raw request, right on the button, just get the last 2 names announced, so we get a full even 7, except it isn't, because yeah. Oh, and there you go. So
to hear. Oh.
Our final segment should be especially fun given the mood that I'm in tonight.
30-second hot seat.
Second hot seat, that's right. So what do you got?
I stole your glory.
Yeah, that's kind of hyperbole, but all right. What do you got this week?
Oh my God, I have a question that I think is going to blow your mind a little bit. All right.
You know what? I believe you, because you still have a much higher rating of being honest with what you're selling than the WWE product. So blow my mind.
All right. How would you? You know what? I just realized that this is an impossible question to answer, so I'm going to change it.
Okay.
The original question was how would you salvage Charlotte? But the problem isn't writing. She's actually being written well. The problem's her, so never mind. New 30-second hot seat. Now that Apollo Crews has lost his first match, where does he go from here? You have 30 seconds, and your time starts now.
Well, ideally, we would make this a story of struggle for Apollo Crews. You know, he's the rookie trying to find his way. He lost his first match to a veteran, and then he kind of, learns the learning curve, so to speak. He loses to Sheamus and Money in the Bank. Maybe he gets redemption at Battleground, and then on the big stage, SummerSlam, he gets the win over Sheamus, and then with that renewed confidence, he moves on to bigger and better things, mainly a heel Intercontinental Champion in The Miz.
Perfect. 30 seconds are up. Great job. That was like the best 30-second hot seat.
Yeah, I stayed composed throughout. I didn't let it get away from me. I was just like, no.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer this question.
You paced yourself well. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. Your approval is all I ever wanted.
You have the best answers, John.
With that said, bro, is there any concluding remark you have about Raw or where we're headed right now with Money in the Bank? Just anything you want to say before I take us home?
I gotta tell you, I'm really curious to see who's gonna lose to Charlotte at the next pay-per-view, just to know who I can get behind.
Yeah, I couldn't have phrased it better myself, my friend. With that said, guys, this has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW. The best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Remember, now the 30-second hot seat segment is on Raw. The 30-second hot seat is the question for our Raw reviews. So, now that Apollo Crews had his first loss, where does he go from here? You guys can do your own fantasy booking. Get that conversation started down in the comments. Talk to us. Also be sure to take that conversation over to Pletov. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. Every week, there is a Monday Night Raw thread, so if you're looking for a forum to introduce your voice, that would seem ideal. A great group of people on Pletov, the nicest group of people you'll ever meet that love wrestling. Also be sure to check out the TWitWoW Facebook page. Like, share, and comment on the content there. If Facebook isn't your medium of choice, we are also on Reddit. On the TWitWoW subreddit, you can find all of our TWitWoW content, and members of the TWitWoW subreddit can create threads of their own on all things related to pro wrestling. But for the best possible TWitWoW experience, I recommend you follow both of us on Twitter. I am at John_TWitWoW. Ashton is at apond404. For my name, it's JOHN_TWitWoW. For Ashton, it's the letter A, pond, the body of water, POND, 404. And we will see you again for our Lucha Underground live reactions, followed by our Lucha Underground TWitWoW review, where we will see if Cage can claim the Gift of the Gods Championship from the hands of Chavo Guerrero. Until then, tune in and peace out.